I had a lot of questions about the island. We are located, or I am located, because I'm here on the island by myself. Yes, on a remote island by myself in the St. Lawrence River. It's called the Thousand Island region. Just had some big lightning over there. We get some hellacious storms here out in the middle of the St. Lawrence River. So we are treated to many storms, especially in the summer with the hot air. And today it was 90 degrees out here with the water temperature of only about 65 degrees. So I get a lot of questions about the island. I gotta hammer that in. This is the septic system right here, everybody. So it's kind of a state-of-the-art anabolic system so that we have regular toilets, with water in them. There's no room for a Leechfield here, so this is what we had to do. We had to get a system where all the waste products come into here, and they're kind of tore up here. There's a motor in there that kind of regurgitates things, and then they get pumped into the first chamber right here, and there's some product in there, plastic product, and that kind of breaks things up. And from there it gets into the sensor chamber where it's aerated and there's bulbs and oxygen so that there's bacteria in there to eat at the solid waste. And anything that doesn't break up gets put back in here to go recycled again and then back into here. And then once it's done here, it goes into this lift tank. And it's pretty much, of course, it's already, and then I had to go through this ultraviolet light, and then it goes to the lift tank. And as soon as that lift tank gets so far up, there's some lift buoys in there, and they trigger a pump. And that starts pumping the water actually almost halfway up the island to a leach field that we had to have created 30 feet long, 10 feet deep of pea stone to recycle it. Now, it's not required in most places. By the time that water comes out after going through the ultraviolet in those 3 chambers, it's pretty much clear to go. In a lot of places, they just put the hose into the garden or flowers, wherever you want it to go. But in this case, we have our own leach field, and it pumps it all the way up here. You can see the pipe there. And here is the leach field that was built out of stone, granite, that my architect did with a small, tiny little backhoe. And so there's the pea stone, and then eventually when the rains come, the water gets through the pea stone and out the side, and eventually it could go down towards the river. But by then it's not only clear, it's been filtered big time. So here I am, Elm Tree Island, Hammond, New York. The widest, if you've watched my other videos, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. The widest part of the St. Lawrence River, Chippewa Bay, New York, right here. From the New York side all the way to the Canadian border, it's about 5 miles wide, even though it's a river. And in most cases, the river is pretty narrow. But in this area right here, it's very wide. And 1,000 islands, over 1,864 islands, scattered around for about 20 plus miles. Large islands, big islands, Castle Island. There's a castle out there. And then you got a big ship coming down the shipping channel. Out there's the shipping channel. So the Great Lakes water into the St. Lawrence River, and that St. Lawrence River right here travels northbound past Montreal and up into the Atlantic Ocean. See, there's rain over there. You can always see rain as it's coming down. And when it's coming down the river, I see rain come right down the river, so I get a little bit of notice before I have to put things in. Furniture, close the windows. I don't know if you can see that big tanker, a lot of oil tankers coming from the Great Lakes. So the ships go through a locking system after they leave the Atlantic, come into the St. Lawrence River, then they go into Lake Ontario, and then there are other locks into the other Great Lakes, Huron, Ontario, Michigan, Superior, Lake Erie. It's a beautiful night today. Like I said, it's 90 degrees today, so we're in a heat wave on the East Coast. Let me know where you're at, if you're in a heat wave. If you're anywhere on the east side of the country, I know that you had plenty of heat today. Now here on the island, it was very comfortable, even though it was a little bit hot. I mean, it was 90 degrees, but the air is coming off water all the way around us that's only about 65 degrees. So that air is really a cool breeze. Talk about a cool breeze. That is a cool breeze. This is the original cottage, ladies and gentlemen. It was built in the late 50s. Hey, how are you? Thanks for checking in. Recognize you. Hey, no way. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for checking in. Stevie, good to see you, brother. Anita, how are you? This is the original cottage in the 50s, made out of stone, each individual piece. And then later we added on these different porches. And then we put on this deck. And in this porch here where we have bedrooms was put on in the 70s. And then this deck right here was put on about 5-6 years ago. And this is where we swim, or actually we shower right here in the St. Lawrence River. It's like a, you know, it's like a healthy bath, man, because all the islands are made out of granite, just like this. Laurentia granite, and most of the bottom of the river is granite. It's fresh water coming out of the Great Lakes. And it's just like you are in a, you know, you're in a rocky bath area. So I mean, there's a lot of minerals in the water. That's what I'm trying to say. Very quiet, very peaceful. I'm all alone here on the island this week, everybody. You could visit. I had a good buddy fly out from California. We had a great visit, and we went out to some restaurants and went into town, Alex Bay, New York. If you've been to Alex Bay, any of you been to Alex Bay? Yeah, the sky is beautiful. Thank you. Hey, Steve, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. The South is hot too. Yeah, my wife is down in Florida. And so she said it's really, really hot down there and humid. Not that humid today, so it was pretty good. And that's the flag. I don't know what my connection is like up here, but let's go take a walk up the island. The island, as you can see, is not that big. It's probably, I don't think it's much more than maybe a football field and a half. And then wide, it's not very wide. As you can see, it looks like it's about 20 yards wide. But here I can get a nice view up on top of the island. And so my grandmother got this island in the 1950s for like $500. Can you believe that? But it's not cheap to maintain the island. I mean, New York state taxes are crazy. And then you got to have boats, obviously, to get to and from the main shore. And then you have to have the boats stored in the winter. You got to winterize the cottage because it freezes up right around here. Even it's the river, it's the Chippewa Bay. And we got some friends in a boat right there. Hi. Good to see you. How are you? Hi, we're live on YouTube. There he is. He's a good guy. Check out his channel, The Glass Goat. I'm not going to tell anybody. Scott, you're looking good, buddy. Please. Thank you, brother. That's Scott Odekirk. He's a good guy. He's a boat builder, and he works on boats. But that's what happened. People stop by to say hi. They just come by in a boat, and they have a cocktail, and that's the way it is. He's out chilling tonight. I actually already went on the Sunset Cruise. I should have went live on YouTube with that. But a lot of crazy stuff happening in the world. Now, I get full Wi-Fi here. I got to show you guys. Okay, you see the crook of my, see that one cylinder there, the circle? I receive my Wi-Fi from that castle over there. I get the Wi-Fi over there. And then there's another narrow vertical piece. And I'm able to transmit Wi-Fi from there. I allowed the company to send out the signal so that people can have line of sight Wi-Fi. And then I get mine for free if I agree to do that. And I go, what? Are you kidding me? So that's nice. When I want to edit my videos and do my podcast, I have enough bandwidth up here to actually go live. And I'm able to operate and do social media, talk to you folks. There he goes. Oh, look at that sunset, everybody. That's going to be an amazing sunset tonight. When that sun breaks under that cloud. Hang around. That's going to be something to see. Hang around for that sunset because I guarantee you that's going to be worth it. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, I am live. I'm in vertical mode because people jump in and out because this shows up in the shorts feed. And then sometimes I get people that are unfamiliar with my channel and they say, hey, some good stuff here. Guarantee, always good stuff, usually motivation, inspiration, stuff like that. I have been delving into a little, political commentary because how can you not? Because it's so entertaining. It's better than any TV show that you could watch. What's going on in the world is more entertaining than you could have. And Anita, thanks for hanging in here. Yeah, we're in the St. Lawrence River, Thousand Island region, exactly where they came up with the Thousand Island dressing name. So about 20 miles, no, not 20 miles, 12 miles upriver is Bolt Castle. You can look that up, Bolt Castle, pretty famous. And a guy by the name of George Bolt was building it for his wife in 1905, and then she died. He quit building it, but they've been actually refurbishing it for the last 40 years. And he was out in his yacht, and he had his first mate come up with the salad dressing formula that eventually became Thousand Island dressing. Thousand Island dressing, the name came from here. A little bit of trivia tonight, you guys. I mean, you don't get that everywhere. This is free. Yeah, that sky is pretty amazing. Here comes the sun, guys. We're going to get a sunset. Gals, we're going to get a great set. Hey, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, we're talking about a community of progress here. I love it. I'm glad I was able to spend some time with you tonight because the island is fantastic. It's great with family, friends. But then when you're here alone, you can become a little bit isolated. So every once in a while, you got to get off the island, get into town, and get around people. Or, people will invite you over to their island for dinner, and you invite them over to your island for dinner and drinks, and then people invite each other over. Now, I think I saw lightning earlier right over there. Obviously, rain there, and then over here, directly due west is sun. So we're way up north. So, I mean, that's all. Over there is the Canadian border, and we're in New York State. So we're just beyond Singer Castle. And at one time, people associated with Singer Sewing Machine owned the castle. And so they have Singer Sewing Machines all over that castle inside. There's tours every day there. A corporation owns that, 4 or 5 people. And they own all these properties around the world where they give tours. I think they own several castles. And so just beyond the castle is the imaginary Canadian border in the water. But if you're fishing over there and they find you in Canadian waters and you do not have a Canadian fishing license, they'll probably take your boat or take a lot of your money. That's for sure. Let me know where you're at, Anita. Where are you at? Stevie, where are you at? Oh, you're in the south, Stevie. I know that. Fantastic. Now, I hope I don't offend you that I have my blue line flag up there, but I was a police officer for 35 years. 35 years, 5 years in upstate New York, right? Not too far from here, 3 hours away. And then 30 years for the LA Sheriff's Department, where I retired as a sergeant and then moved to Florida. But in the summer, I'm up here on Elm Tree Island that was handed down from Grandma that she bought in the 1950s. And since then, we've tried to maintain it best we can. It can get expensive with new roofs. I need a new roof right there on that flat part. And I didn't need a new roof on that one porch. Now you see the wind is acting funny tonight. I'll tell you why. See, now it's blowing actually out of the north, blowing directly south. Normally the wind comes out of the southwest, so from that direction this way, okay, and now it's whipped around. Now this is pretty much welcome right now, but normally when it's out of the north, it gets really cold. So that rainstorm might come to us, because now the wind has circled around and you're watching it live. And so you may see an amazing storm if it comes this way. Might as well take a walk down to the end of the island. You can actually get an idea of how big it is, but I don't want to get caught in the rain down there. Hey, it's not that far. So crazy stuff today, right? Crazy stuff the last 10 or 12 days or 5 days, right? With the bombing in Iran and then announcing the ceasefire. And then somebody broke the ceasefire, and then Trump dropped the F-bomb today on purpose. And so he was pissed, obviously. And so he said these countries don't know what the F they're doing. I don't know why I'm cleaning it up, but that's what I do. Trying not to curse so much. And we got the president just cursing on purpose. I was watching a podcast and they were talking about how this is the first time in history that they've caught presidents in the past on hot mics, cursing. But this is a president who deliberately knew what he was doing, dropping the F-bomb. Absolutely. All right, Anita. Thanks for checking in. Yeah, the sky, I don't know, we might get a storm right on top of us here. Florida Life, how are you? I love that symbol you got there for your channel. That's great. I love the Florida Life. It's amazing. It is nice to get a little break and come up here. Although I came up a little early this year, May 16th, and it was freezing. I spent the first 10 days with a fire, 24/7. I should have stayed in Florida maybe another 3 weeks. Hey, looks like the storm's kicking up, guys, coming out of the north. I might have to get to the cottage. All right, I'll keep you with me live because what might happen. Here's an old fire pit. They built this thing in the 50s, and usually at the end of summer we have a big bonfire. Now I got family coming up. My wife and my stepkids are coming up with their kids, the grandkids. I'm already gathered wood. We're going to have a nice bonfire here for their time here at the island. We're going to have a good time. We got a couple jet skis I got to get into the water. The waters, especially around here, are pretty heck dangerous because if you don't know the waters, there are shoals underneath the water. Some are just like a foot under, depending on the water levels. They're out of the water or they're just under the water. And if people just tear up their props all the time. And so you've got to know this area specifically. I've talked to people in other areas of the river and they go, we don't go down to Chippewa Bay because we don't want to lose our prop. But, after a while, I've been up here 50 years, you start to know where all the shoals are. Eventually, you know where they're all at. And, some people put markers on them, but you're not supposed to, right? It's against, to put a navigation device in the water is on your own is not legal technically. But if there's a shoal just off the end of your island, you might better mark it just because. And I see people do mark them when they're out in the middle of nowhere. You got a big rock just under the water. I mean, it's, they're on the charts. Almost all of them are on the charts. Most people have a GPS chart. I know I got one in the boat. I had to get a GPS in the boat. My wife got lost out here in the fog, and I thought, well, I know this river so well. I went out there to get her with another boat because she couldn't find where she was. And she says, all I see is a Canadian flag. So I knew that guy over there had a Canadian flag. I ended up getting out there, and then I didn't know which way to go. The fog was so dense. I go, we got to get a GPS because this is not good. Now I ended up looking at my phone, Google Earth, and I knew right where I was, or Google Maps, and it showed me on the map. All right, guys, we got the wind kicking up big time here, as you're probably hearing on my lapel mic. All right, let's get back to the cottage. Well, a nice thing, on this end of the cottage, I'll be blocking the wind, so you won't have to listen to that. Felt a couple drops. Thanks for checking in, everybody, the Cliff Yates channel. Listen, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. I do a podcast, usually weekly, sometimes more than weekly. Usually it's motivation, personal growth, inspiration. Lately, I've been delving into a little commentary. Political commentary, just because I'm interested in what's going on, and why not? We can still have a positive attitude and still be paying attention to what's going on. All right, I'm going to see if I can stay outside as long as I can and see what's going on. I want to know where everybody is, where exactly you're at. I'll tell you where I'm at if you haven't seen already. Oh, yes, way. Florida life. Hey, everybody, I'll tell you, this is, I think we're going to have a storm coming right across the cottage here. So I may have to leave you because I got to go in and shut windows down before everything gets wet. Unless it blows over, which there is a chance that it might blow over. Let me know where you are and what you're doing this beautiful evening. And I'm in the northeast in the St. Lawrence River, Thousand Island region of the St. Lawrence River. Oh, there goes a nice bass boat. We just had a bass tournament here in the St. Lawrence River. This bassery here is amazing. I mean, for smallmouth, largemouth, it's pretty amazing. So they have two big tournaments. I think Major League Fishing and maybe Bass Pros, I think. I know Major League Fishing comes around and they have a camera on the boat, and some of the boats, it's pretty interesting. They fish right off my bedroom door. Thank you, Anita. Thanks for checking in. Stevie, fantastic. Welcome to the channel, everybody. Cliff Yates. I'm live here in the St. Lawrence River, Thousand Islands, New York. That's upstate New York. If you know where Syracuse is, I'm 105 miles north of Syracuse. And I'm in the freshwater of the St. Lawrence River, Thousand Island region. And I'm here alone on the island, everybody, right now. I got no family here. Oh, I hear a loon. If you get lucky, you might see a loon. I got a loony loon making a lot of noise around here. Let me know where you are in the world. You can check me out. You can go to Google Earth and check out Elm Tree Island, Hammond, New York. That's exactly where I'm at. Thousand Islands, New York. It's a beautiful country. A lot of people have never heard of it, and then I find a lot of people who have been here. They've been to Alex Bay, which is a pretty famous little village port. This area was pretty well known in Prohibition. Prohibition time, they called them Rum Runners, and they would run rum, say that 10 times, from Canada all the way across into New York here, and they would get it down to New York City to the speakeasies. And so they could actually escape, and if they were chased by the federal agents, then they could run them through over the shoals, and then they would hit their prop if they didn't know the area. And so they knew exactly where to take them. Yeah, near Ottawa. Ottawa's probably directly, Ottawa's directly that way, probably around, I don't know. I looked on the map the other day and it said a 5-hour drive. So I'd have to go to a bridge either down by Alex Bay, New York, over to Canada, and then I have to drive back this way to Ottawa. Now, Montreal is directly north about, I want to say 200 miles. I think it's about a 2.5-hour drive. Yeah, Ottawa. That's right. My honeymoon was in Montreal. Got married here on the St. Lawrence River, Thousand Islands. I hear a lot of noise out by the boats. Let's go check it out. Something's going on. Always got to keep an eye on the boats, especially when the wind's changing. Oh, I see the boats just... This is my little marina right in here, which is normally protected. As I said, the wind comes out of the southwest. So this is a nice little area I have protected. But when it's coming out of the north, the boats, I don't have a buoy. I don't have a bumper on this boat. This is my little utility boat. And that's the Sea Ray. And then we have some toys over here. We got the kayak. We got a sit on, a sit in, stand-up paddleboard. Here's a screened-in porch, which is nice, especially at night to sit out here. So you can be out here in the air, but escape the bugs. Depends what kind of year it is. Sometimes there's, I got here in May, there's these tiny little no-see-em bugs, and they're everywhere. They're thick. You can almost shovel them off, but they only last about 3 weeks, and then they're gone. So they're gone now. As I said, that's our swimming area. Nice little ladder. And then there's a little shelf down there. I let myself down with a rope, and it's only about 3.5 feet deep. Now, if I step off the shelf, then it goes to 10 feet. It's kind of interesting, right? All these islands are made out of this granite. I want to know where you are in the world. I'm in St. Lawrence for 1,000 Islands, upstate New York. Give me a shout out where you're at. I got Florida Life. I got Anthony Mark, 1,000 Islands. That's right. And that's all we got. We got a small party today. That's all right. We're going to get more. People are going to stop by. They're going to stop by Elm Tree Island, say hi. We're live from the island, everybody. It's a beautiful day here in the St. Lawrence River. It was 90 degrees today, but as I say, this water is still only about 65 degrees. So it's a nice, cool wind that you get off the water. We got full electricity, full Wi-Fi. And so we got all the comforts of home, electricity, water, regular toilets. And so we got all the comforts right here in the middle of the St. Lawrence River, right here on our own private island. This is the only cottage on the island. Maybe I should have somebody build something on the other end. You know, I wouldn't mind some company. That's the way, you know, do you want the extreme privacy, or do you want to be a little bit social? You know, that's my wife wanted to be very social. She's not even here right now. She's in California visiting the grandkids. All right, everybody. That's it for live from the St. Lawrence River. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. You won't be disappointed. I'll see you at the next video.